You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Oh my God, I'm so stressed out.
I'm wearing Bank of Blue Valley colors, okay? Take it easy. You're wearing Bank of Blue Valley colors. You look phenomenal.
I haven't done the show in a couple weeks, and I almost forgot, and I got so stressed out during the commercial right there.
Well, I think the panelists will carry us through because they're some of the most fun, positive, and optimistic people in all of Kansas City.
They're my friends.
No big deal.
No big deal. What are you doing?
Just wearing my Bank of Blue Valley stuff. And, it's like, so for everyone watching, I'm assuming that's like, because you have spring break, but you have all these different spring breaks. We're becoming more of a national economy. So like we have to like ebb and flow all these things when people are available, when they go out of town for a week, but they don't look as good as you do because your toes were in the sand and you have a beautiful tan.
Yeah, I didn't do the show last week because I went to the beach. Okay, I got to tell you what's happening in my life. Do you know what manifesting is?
Like when something becomes new or like evangelical, something new.
No, not at all. Like when you say stuff you want to happen, like you just focus on it and then it happens. I am becoming the world's strongest manifester, me and Oprah, because I literally found out Friday night last week that my kids didn't have rehearsal. And I said to my friend Natalie, I said, oh man, I should have planned a trip. And I literally got home and my old commercial landlord, Marshall Blount, shout out, one of the best landlords in the city, works for Block. He said, hey, my condo's free in Orange Beach this next week. Do you want it? And so we got on an airplane the next day and we went on a vacation.
Oh my God, your kids had to be so pumped. They work so hard in theater and they've had so many different shows that's awesome. Good things happen to good people.
And if you manifest, if you're a strong manifester like me, I'll teach you. Don't worry. Okay, I can give one more little plug here and then we're going to bring up our panel.
Well, I always manifest every Thursday. I go, can I please drink 15 seltzer beers with my friends? And can it happen? And you know what? It does every time, and you win.
And that's a perfect segue into this. I am having my fundraiser we've talked about this Thursday. So if you want to drink with me and Scott, just hit me up and I'll let you know. We're taking donations. Your donation will buy you a ticket. It's for my kids' theater troupe, which is a nonprofit, which also has an amazing special needs department. So a lot of the money is going to that so that kids of all abilities can do theater with us. And so if you want to drink with me and Scott, do it. Also, can you guys comment and let us know you're here? So let us know if you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Are you around? Because it feels a little like crickets around here, but I can see you guys are watching.
Well, we're excited for the panelists. We had one panelist who's a general counsel of one of the largest manufacturing firms, being a great husband, taking care of his wife that's not feeling well. But our panelists are going to carry us through, just like Burns McDonnell and Bank of Blue Valley carried through Kansas City.
I thought he was missing. I'm glad you found him.
He is not. He's just taking care of his wife.
Watching on MySpace. My last picture ever on MySpace, Scott, the last picture on MySpace was me and Vanilla Ice at the opening night of McFadden's.
He is $2,500 to book, but he's $10,000 to have sing Ice Ice Baby.
Lots of fun facts going on here on this show. All right, nobody cares about us. Let's bring up the panel. Let me find this.
Drum roll.
Da 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 da. Did you guys use this music last week when I wasn't here?
I think we did.
India, Naeem, and Andrew. Andrew.
Is that a Diet Dr. Pepper?
Keep going.
It's a non-alcoholic beer. Gotcha.
Ah.
Lame.
Nice choice, Drew.
Lame. Do it right next time. Hi, guys.
Hola.
Welcome to Drinks
That's
with
good.
Leaders. We are so excited to have you guys on here. All right, we're just going to jump into it with India. India, who are you? What do you do? And how did you get to Kansas City?
Hey, got to Kansas City through my mom's. Woohoo! Born and raised here in Kansas City. I haven't left. I love it here. For everyone who don't know me, I'm India Wells Carter. I am an entrepreneurial enthusiast, an educational enthusiast. I own Fresh Factory KC, and I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, that's not enough. Tell us.
Yeah, that's not it. Yeah, so we got to go back to what do you do? So the way that I'd love to know where you got your start in business and then what it's turned into.
Yes. So back in January 2021, had this phenomenal idea of creating a selfie studio concept. I enjoyed the experience myself, traveling around the country to take selfies. And I was like, why not put my own touch to it and bring this experience to KC? So 2021 and concluding 2022, had the brick and mortar space in Zona Rosa. And then I realized a lot of my customers were calling me to bring the selfie experience to them. So now we are completely 100% mobile, creating custom installations for our B2B customers and dipping into the experiential marketing industry.
That's amazing. What about what are your biggest revenue drivers? Is it weddings? Is it birthday parties? Like how do people find you and what drives the most revenue?
Yeah, so in the brick and mortar space, 100% birthday. So even Aaron's daughter had her birthday party at our store last year, I believe. This year, now that
it's her birthday today.
Happy
That was
birthday.
1 year
Happy birthday, Lily.
Wow.
Now that we are more so focusing on B2B, it's your nonprofit galas, it's your small business launches or product launches, it's your back to school events. So more so just those celebratory milestone events that nonprofit schools and corporate entities need to capture their customers and their stakeholders' attention through this photo experience.
Love it. What's your favorite? I know you so well, but I'm trying to make this like I don't know you. What's your favorite like selfie experience you've ever set up?
Ooh, honestly, I would say the Ruby Jeans Lemonade Stand launch event at Halls. I had to do a couple different installations, and it really did stretch my creativity, but it also allowed me to partner with other small businesses to bring it to life. So that event, it was a weekend event. That was fantastic. But I will also add for Global Entrepreneurship Week, creating the installation of the GW logo. Tested my creative limits as well. So that one was memorable.
Listen, I'm going to need your friend over here. It's either Shalene or Shailene. Can you take off your privacy settings so I can pull up all your amazing comments, please?
Is that Shalene, Aaron?
Shalene, take
Wait,
it
Aaron,
off.
after 3 years of this show, you can actually see who the people are with their privacy settings on.
I just got it pulled up.
What kind of wizard are you?
Right.
I mean, she's all sorts. I'm like, I gotta know who this is. Shalene, go fix your privacy settings so people can network with you and see your pretty face.
Hey, girl, hey.
She does say she likes the pivot for Fresh Factory. So let me ask you this. What were the emotions when you were closing the brick and mortar?
Honestly, initial thought was like, oh my God, my customers are going to freak out, right? Like they're going to be so mad at me. So I did have to consult with a lot of other business mentors who made shifts like this with their businesses. And overwhelmingly, it was just kind of like, they'll be fine. You'll be all right. Like, you're not going to think about it the next day. So I remember even like packing up the tub and all the other fun things. And it really was joy. Like, this wasn't a sense of sadness, but it was more so there's so much to explore in the future, but this is going to be necessary to take that next step. So I honestly was happy. And I would say, like, not having a brick and mortar has allowed me more time to spend with my family. And I didn't realize that I was missing out on that by having a physical location. So not to say I won't ever go back to a physical location, but I can now go to family dinners and hang out with my 3-year-old son. And that feels really good.
I like it.
I always feel like all entrepreneurs, and I feel like Aaron, you felt this way with your staff, and you've gone back and forth from brick and mortar to remote to brick and mortar, a combination of everything. And you have such a beautiful, beautiful space, Aaron. But in general, I feel like whether you're $100 million revenue company or whether you're a $1 million revenue company, I think people place such an importance on a brick and mortar that you just feel like it's like we go to school and we're taught like, hey, we need an office. And I think it's listening to your customers and clients. So at what point in time were you in the brick and mortar? Was it like 2 months in, 3 months in, where your clients were like, can you come see us? Can you come see us? And then how long did you have to stay in it? Was the lease like month to month? Like, how did that all go down? Because what a huge win for you to get out of that space.
Right. So now it was a natural transition point. Our lease was going to be up in January. So I was like, if I'm going to make a change, let me do it now instead of it being abrupt. So I did have that to my grace, I guess. I would say, let's see, we opened up May 2021. I probably got the request for what we call like our on-the-go mobile service that fall. So it was actually, it's something I didn't include in my business plan. I didn't know it was going to be a thing, but you got to listen to your customers. So yeah, it was, hey, can you come to this festival? Can you come to this block party? Can you come to this school? And I'm like, this is a thing. Like, bringing this experience to other people is in demand. So that also helped make that decision, because it's like, let me go and do what my customers are calling me for.
I like it. All right. Letitia says, good to see you on here, India.
Hey.
Ted is excited to hear from all of you guys. And hi, Denise. This is my friend Denise. Go connect with her. She's trying out the LinkedIn thing. I've been talking about it a lot. I know you guys are all on LinkedIn a lot. Awesome. Well, India, we're so glad you're back on. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Naeem, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Excited to be back on Drinks with Leaders. It's been a few years, and I think at that time my mic didn't work. So glad to be heard with some amazing people that I've developed a relationship with here in Kansas City in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so to the audience, my name is Naeem Al-Amin. I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm also a board member for Big Brothers Big Sisters Jedi Board. And I'm the founder and CEO of SWAGG Inc. But what I've been most of my life is a returning citizen or somebody that's returned to the community after a prison experience. And so the nonprofit that I founded introduced a new business model in the mass incarceration space, one that allows us to work with people who are incarcerated 1 year prior to release, and then 1 to 3 years in the community to help them discharge probation and parole. And so for SWAGG Inc., we promote ownership for people impacted by mass incarceration. And we have 2 client-based services and a workforce development piece that I crafted out. And so I actually wrote this business plan while I was incarcerated, but we intimately name our program or our approach, never go in, never go back, and we help employers change the way they recruit.
So Naeem, obviously you have one of the best stories, I believe, in Kansas City. Aaron Fulk does a lot of public speaking. And have you started doing more public speaking? I know you speak a lot, but have you thought about kind of turning it more into a revenue generator for your non-for-profit?
That's a really great question, Scott, for several reasons, because it allows me to elaborate on a really impactful relationship that I developed here in Kansas City, as I was someone who transitioned out of prison, not knowing anyone. And so I got connected to Joe Goldberg through Porterhouse KC, being in that first cohort. And through that relationship, he introduced me to the National Speaking Association. And I'm part of that organization, and I was going through development heavily about 2-3 years ago. And as I been pitching my concept to employers, I've been able to develop a speaking dialogue on diversity, equity, inclusion for returning citizens, also workforce development models, and just sharing my story. For example, J.E. Dunn retained me to do a Midwest dialogue to the Midwest region. And, we didn't talk about, SWAGG Inc. We didn't talk about the market value asset that we're creating in the construction craftsman space. I would just share my story. And so I was compensated for that. And it's been awesome to be able to share my story and drive revenue into the organization and elevate the status of people impacted by mass incarceration, like our clients that we have right here in Kansas City. So it's been amazing.
And then with folks like J.E. Dunn and Big Brothers Big Sisters, you've helped partner with community health centers, housing, transportation, so that as folks come back into the community, which I think it's 70% recidivism is what is typically when someone's incarcerated, of what their chances are of going back. So how do you connect all the dots, and when do you intersect someone that's about to be back in the community, and then how do you help them connect to the other resources?
Really great question. And I'm going to unpack that. And so just starting at myself. And so I'm someone who's been impacted by mass incarceration over 30 years. I was introduced to the criminal justice system at 8 years old in 1987. I've been to prison as an adult 3 times at 18, 21, and 35, and returning to the community at 40. And so what we needed was what I was able to create, and that is our HOPES program, which you just eloquently laid out, Scott. So our healing, ownership, planning, employment, and sustainability. And that's what we offer. And through conversation with men that were incarcerated with me, I was able to, I didn't know it then, but I was using the 5 principles of design thinking in terms of building out a business model that solves for the pain points of a customer or client, and also produces purpose and profitability. And so those design principles: empathy, ideate, prototype, define, and test. But under the empathy piece, I was able to connect to people and find out their pain points with incarceration. And the number one thing that came up was, if only I had a job before I was released from prison. And so I was able to take that, formulate that in our approach. And I didn't know that back in April of 2018 that UPS would be that employer that I developed that proof of concept with, but that's how it would happen. And so what that looked like, when I got hired at UPS, I was hired as an unloader. 4 months later, I got promoted to human resources, which was really impactful, because I went from someone that was never given an opportunity by an employer to being a decision maker in the hiring process. And through that, I was able to submit my business plan to the C-suite. They saw value, allowed me to work autonomously, co-brand UPS SWAGG Inc., and focus my hiring initiatives on returning citizens. And I did that with probation and parole. And as that model was moving forward, I was able to increase attendance by 70%, increase retention by 50%, and 0 recidivism. And so that's how I was able to develop a relationship with the employer. Thank you, Drew. Connect with probation and parole at the Department of Corrections, and also have a real-time model of my program being delivered in the community.
That's amazing.
And I think I know Aaron's got a question, but I'm going to give Aaron a bunch of credit. So this show is how I met you. And then I found out that you were buddies with Drew Ains, which you were introduced through Jay Ryan, or Jay Locke, as he life comes very, very, very full circle. And I owe Aaron the friendship. So Aaron, sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. But I need you to learn how to point. Where he's at. He's over there.
No, I was pointing at you. I know this drill.
Do you? Yeah, all I was gonna say is you guys have become pretty good buddies, and you guys met on this show, right?
We did. In fact, we've had an opportunity to kick back at Scott's house, have some great cigars and drinks and dialogue. And
you've met every one of my family members. Even my daughter. My daughter was probably she was just going to bed at like 2.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was amazing. But Scott, he really, was emphatic to my story and the things that I've been through. And it's as he asked some amazing questions, we found out that we had more similarities than not. For example, a lot of Scott peers that he grew up with in his community went to Kansas State with me and was in student government association with me. And some of the people that he talked to today, we still have a relationship with. And so, you don't get that unless you're able to, being able to be open-minded to receiving somebody where they're at and not where you expect them to be.
What was the hardest part for you of you spent a lot of your adulthood in prison, right? So what was the hardest part for you? Like, I have had friends like in the Army that there's things that we had some guy on here that helped people. Like, whenever you spend a lot of time anywhere, it doesn't matter whether you want to be there or not, there's parts of it that are hard to like come back and do everyday life in a different setting. What was the hardest part of, I guess, kind of acclimating for you?
Well, everything. I mean, returning from prison is like returning from the dead. You're released from one prison to another, and generally that looks like a prison of not being understood and not being understanding, and not being understood and not understanding. And so for me, it was complex because I was 35 years old, and I went to prison for 5 years for not testifying against my friend. I wasn't the target of the investigation. I was arrested though, and they asked me to turn state evidence. I said no. And my friend, they dropped the charges against him, filed them against me, and I received a 68-month prison sentence. Now, going into prison, I just graduated Kansas State University with 3 degrees, and I went on a 0 to 200 run in terms of employment opportunities over 3 years after graduating, right? But mass incarceration creates its own narrative, and it compels you towards that direction. I was stamped from the beginning at 8 years old, and also being in prison at 18 and 21, nobody questioned the judicial process of sending someone to prison for 5 years that isn't a part of an investigation, right? And so the start over button. And so for me, but it was more like, what am I going to do? I've done everything. I have 5 years. I'm coming home. What am I going to do? And, it was really a conversation that I had with a friend of mine that changed my life prior to going into prison in 2013. And so I went back home to Los Angeles, to the Crenshaw district where I grew up at, to get some more drugs to come back to the Midwest. And I asked my friend, who was on the verge of signing his first major music deal, who was he going to sign with, Rick Ross or another label? And he said for him, it was about patience, that he knew the moment he signed that contract that his life would change forever, and that it was about ownership, creating a long-term plan and elevating the status of the people around him. And it was impactful to me because I never heard anyone speak like that. And especially where I'm from, being a product of the Crenshaw district, which is a place dead in the middle between the penitentiary and the graveyard. And this person that I'm referring to is Nipsey Hussle. May God have mercy on his soul. And so I was able to reflect. Friend? Absolutely. We're from the same neighborhood, the same gang. I'm a second generation rolling 60. He's a third generation. Shout out to the homie. I'm
doing it wrong now.
Wow. That was just India. That was just there.
Yeah, it's artwork.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I have the artwork on my desk. He's such an inspiration in so many aspects.
Absolutely. Sorry, Naeem. Keep going. That's pretty cool that sporadically was there.
It is. I mean, inspiration never ceases, right? And that's the highest form of charity that extends beyond the grave. And so we really appreciate Nip for that. But that conversation and being in prison and looking at his marathon push through interviews and listening to his music, I just knew that I needed to write a business plan and that, there would be opportunity for him to invest in that. But the biggest takeaway from that conversation all those years ago is that, he gave me a legacy conversation that allowed me to move away from looking for people to give me the opportunity to create one for myself and to be able to elevate people around me, which was significant. But I often tell people, Aaron, that mass incarceration is less about those that are incarcerated and more about what they leave behind: family, society, and economy. Right. And so for me, being in prison at 35, 5 years, 2 daughters, an Asian mother, you know, I had the opportunity to call home one day and talk to my daughter. And, you know, I'm sure people here in the audience on the panel, we have children. We may volunteer for an amazing organization like Big Brothers and Big Sisters. You know, we may have sons, cousins, nephews, but, you know, mass incarceration will leave your seat empty for Donuts with Dad Day. And what that looked like for me was calling home, asking my daughter how she was doing, and my youngest daughter, Azra, and she said, you know, I'm doing good now, Daddy, but I wasn't doing good earlier. I said, well, what happened? She said, well, we had Donuts with Dad's Day and my seat was empty, but my friends wasn't. And like, so how do you recover from that? Right? You know, my daughter being able to impact the moment, that being able to identify the moment she's been impacted. Right. And so those kind of things. And so for SWAGG Inc., we believe that healing is the first step after a prison experience. And so, you know, the 5 things we need to do is to heal. We need to unlearn, learn, connect, and have space. And that's what our program offers. So again, we have those 2 client-based services in the workforce development piece, but we also have a support group every Sunday at Equal Minded Cafe for families and people impacted by mass incarceration. To be able to heal from that experience. We bring in resources, guest speakers, and also we look to further develop our members through entrepreneurship.
That's real cool. Look, Letitia says, Naeem, doing such great work. Well, I'll have you know, our school has shifted to Donuts and Adults Day or something like that. Donuts and adults, because I think there's a lot of that. There's just different stuff that not all the time the adult is there. So, well, that's awesome. Okay, we are gonna. I do want to say hi to Katie. Hi, Katie. Hi, Dr. Katie. You're not following her, go. She's doing some amazing things too. Well, thank you for being here, Naeem. All right, Andrew, you have been very patient. I want to ask you who you are, what do you do, how do you get to Kansas City, and then let's just be real transparent here. Talk about your name.
Open
it up there.
That's like 5
people just our roster. They'd be like, "Who is that?"
Go ahead. Okay, Aaron, is it permission to use my prop then?
You can use your prop.
All right. Hashtag not that Andrew Tate. A lot of people have heard about Andrew Tate, who's made my life interesting the last 6 months. I am not him. I am not a shaven head, cigar smoking in a private jet with Lamborghinis underneath, misogynist MMA fighter. Although I look like I could be an MMA fighter, right? So I'm raising money for Kids TLC, Dine and Dance with the Stars on June 3rd. And hashtag not that Andrew Tate. Here's the QR code. Vote for me.
Can you just put the link in the comments later?
I definitely will. Would love to be able to do that. It's also on my Facebook profile, in my bio, and also on Instagram. But back to your questions, Aaron. So I'm not that Andrew Tate. I used to go by Drew Tate. I grew up in Kansas City, moved away to Atlanta for a few years, came back and went to Rutgers University. Scott, you'd asked a previous question about how'd you get where you are? You know, I had a rap sheet of a career the first decade in the workforce, you know, year here, half a year there, year and a half here. Got a little bit of traction in the energy sector, and for the better part of a decade did solar LED lighting, quick payback energy projects for businesses. So B2B sales but I had done a lot of stuff before that. And what's really interesting is, you know, cold calling, being in the kitchen and bath remodel industry way back in the day, property and casualty insurance, Scott, way back in the day, financial advising even before that.
I know every step of the career.
Oh man, yeah, little stepping stones, baby steps. But I finally got into real estate a couple years back. Now I'm in my 3rd year of real estate, focused on working with investors. So that was year 1, working with investors on rental properties. Year 2 was managing a lot of contracting along with, you know, helping buy and sell investment properties. And now year 3 is community impact stuff, more development type stuff. I've been trying to work with neighborhood associations, created a nonprofit, Cincinnatus Development, to try and tackle some affordable housing issues and needs we have in the metro. And it's a pretty touchy subject, man. There's a lot of hot takes on it. And believe it or not, I'm not the first middle-aged white guy to try and throw myself into that mix. So people have a little bit of trepidation sometimes when I walk in the room. I'm like, hey, I'm in real estate and I want to know what I could do to help. They're like, we've heard that before. So, I've started a couple businesses with some partners. I'm still acting as an agent for investors on the real estate side, and the occasional flip here or there. But ultimately where I'm at in my career right now, it's so great being a small business owner and starting up stuff and partnering with friends. Because all I'm trying to do in business, guys, is I want to make a little bit of money, nothing crazy. I'm not trying to build an empire, but I want the byproduct of what I'm doing to be good, period. And I'm unflappable in that goal. That's all I'm doing. Like if it's not at least helping people out a little bit or leaving a neighborhood a little bit better than it was before, then I don't want to do it. And more, I'm doing less agent duties for other people, less contracting for other people, more my own stuff, more my own deals, developing deals. So all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, am I a developer? Am I a real estate developer? I still feel really funny introducing myself in that way, but I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I'm in real estate. I'm trying to put together bigger, funner, sexier deals that are good for Kansas City. Thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah. So Andrew, I'm going to ask you a question and then give a little bit of background so you have time to think about it. But, what is a typical project for an audience listener on the business side, not your community impact side, but on the business side? And funny enough, in the morning, my wife and I are in the bathroom getting ready for the day. And she was like, how do you know this person? And I was like, shoot, I think 9 years ago, Andrew Tate introduced me to the person. And then I go to where I go get coffee and someone goes, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but don't you know Andrew Tate? And I was like, oh my gosh, I just said his name twice in like 35 minutes. And so many roads lead to you. But then an interesting thing that I tell Aaron about all the time, and I'm sure India and Naeem have this as well, is you guys everyone here is so nice and so giving. But the problem is in Kansas City, we have that Midwest nice thing. Everyone's nice. They got your back. They're going to help you. Hey, India, you need to meet that person? I got you. I'll introduce you to him. Crickets. Naeem, I know someone would be really interested in your nonprofit. Crickets. But all of us here, if someone asks us to do something, we do it. And so I started learning that a lot through Andrew. So Andrew is always following up, always accountable, always took care of people. And I coined the term, the 5%. There's 95% of people, there are family, friends, coworkers, they just take. And then there's the 5% givers. So Andrew, I wanted to share that with the audience of how nice you are, but you got to plug your business a little bit more. What does a typical project look like for you that generates the most revenue?
That generates the most revenue. And I know you're really
for
trying
you
to
and your dog.
How can people help me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a typical deal, like over my real estate career, the last couple of years, it's a single family home to 4-door kind of quad situation. And really how people, like, I'm always willing to help family and friends do real estate. Like, I don't pass those deals up. They're not my favorite, but if it's family and friends, like I do real estate. I can help you sell a house, buy a house. But truly the best way you can help me is if there are movers and shakers who are also doing community impact stuff via real estate. I want to know them. Good contractors. I want to know them. And then making money on the buy, right? That's business 101. You make money on the buy. And that's really what it's all about in real estate right now. Owning the contracting piece, being able to quote it, owning it, and then making money on the buy. So off-market deals, or if someone is, looking to sell a house and they don't want to necessarily go to market. If they want to go to market, I'll be your agent. If they don't want to go to the market, maybe I'll buy it. That's where the juice is right now. That's where the meat is on the bone.
The meat is on the bone.
Yeah.
I can talk in metaphors all day. My wife hates it. She's
metaphors
like,
and platitudes.
She's like, you accomplished nothing in that conversation. You just said a bunch of metaphors. I was like, I knew what he was talking about. There was plenty of meat left on the bone for the Winston McDonnell question of the day.
Yeah, you got to make sure the juice is worth the squeeze, Scott.
That's right.
Hey, you know who butters your bread?
Did you say if you grew up here? Did you grow up here?
I did, but I did not go to high school here
Where'd you go to high school?
in Atlanta, the burbs. of
Where'd you go to
Atlanta.
college?
Rockhurst University.
That's right.
Did you know that there's literally a billboard in the Atlanta airport that on your way out, it says, like if you're getting there, going into Atlanta, it says, nobody here calls it Hotlanta.
That's true. And it's also, if you didn't know this, Atlanta is actually where the players play. For fun fact. Yeah.
You're my favorite.
Come on,
Okay.
throw some more millennial jams in there. This is perfect.
You're my favorite. Okay, it's time for our Burns and McDonald question of the day. Usually what I do, you got Letitia laughing over here. Usually what I do is I listen to all the questions and decide which will be a good one for our panel, but I didn't do that today. I just went potluck, and then I heard it when I played it for you guys, and I think it's a great question for us. So we'll play it, and then India, you can answer right afterwards. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Marion Nguyen. I'm a project coordinator at Burns & McDonnell, and my question of the day is, how do you create an environment of collaboration?
Okay, so one of my favorite things to do is collaborate people, understanding that I have an element of genius to bring to the table and someone else does too. So genius. How do I create it? Honestly, just building a network of never underestimating people, the value that they bring, who they are, and the level of expertise that they have. So everyone has a room at the table when it comes to me, or a seat at the table when it comes to me. Everyone has unique experiences that can elevate any goal, any initiative, and just being open. So that's one way that I try to partner in with other businesses, other CEOs, and community organizations to have some more fun and do some more impactful work.
India, we always call it channel partners. So people that sell alongside you, like, are there, for people that may not know about it, but who are good referral partners for your business that people would think of that, like, oh, she needs to meet that person?
Yeah, so we always use the hashtag play party photo. So our folks who are in the event planning industry, the experiential marketing industry, the entertainment industry, those are my channel folks who can elevate the ideas that I have, and equally so, I can elevate the client experiences that they have. Oh, you're on mute, girl.
She played this joke. Yeah.
I never do that. It's because my kid just got home, and sometimes the dog barks. My bad. Naeem.
Aaron.
Talk about collaboration for you.
Absolutely. So I think I'll just refer to like real-time experience. As I was going on the journey, so what worked for me was autonomy, and then also an idea worth sharing. And so rallying around a synergy point that allows people to utilize their strengths as they know them to be under their free will, but in an organized manner. But also when it comes to authenticity, really narrowing in on what that means for each individual. And so for me, authenticity is authority. And linguistically, or the etiology suggests so. And so the root word of authenticity is oro. And, and so if you have the ability to control your destiny and create, then you do not have to be a derivative of someone else's narrative. And I think that's important when we're looking at, collaborating around ideas. But a real-time experience, introducing this business model to J.E. Dunn Construction, and the challenge and the opportunity of working with a construction company that builds prisons, and then a nonprofit that promotes ownership for people impacted by mass incarceration. And so what's the idea worth sharing and collaborating on? And that's diversity, equity, and inclusion for returning citizens, because we find out we all impacted by mass incarceration some way. And through my HR acumen, in that role at UPS, I was able to pick up a master's degree in human resource management. Shout out to UPS for the financial support. And so what I was able to realize was that the traditional DEI definition didn't apply to people like me. It applied, to a different space, right? Because we historically, were ousted from opportunity by, the felony box question and that kind of thing.
When you're going through the education piece, they don't include people that are incarcerated in that definition of diversity and inclusion.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Through the traditional HR space and organizations, the diversity, equity, inclusion piece doesn't apply to returning citizens, right? Because you have barriers on the background check, and we come to find that those are specifically asked for by the employer when we look at Hire Right, which is the #1 provider in background checks for employers, right? And so this is, spoken policy that's written, but what I come to do was craft out one for ourselves, and that is diversity is developing relationships with employers that allow our clients to transition back to the community as stakeholders. Equity is creating market value assets that allow our clients to be portable and have control over their destiny. Inclusion is promoting ownership for people impacted by mass incarceration and elevating the status of people in positions of power to do something about it, like a J.E. Dunn construction, and creating a market value asset in our RCAP program, our Returning Citizens Apprenticeship Program, in the construction craftsman space, which has been done before, but we're able to rally around an idea that, people need opportunity and we need our economy to boom, essentially.
I like it. Hey, what are your 3 degrees in?
Great question. So I have a bachelor's in science in sociology, a BS in criminology, and an AS in psychology from Kansas State University. And I have a master's in human resource management from Webster's University.
I like the public speaker training you went through. I'm just going to tell people that are watching, because you already know this because you keep doing it. But one of the best ways to answer a question really, really well is to give yourself a few seconds to process it by saying, great question, right? Or repeating the question. It's a really great way to get people to tune into it. So you're using it really well. I'm really impressed.
Thank you for that support.
They said you're always dropping knowledge.
There we go.
We need workforce. Hey, Janae. Hey, girl. All right, Andrew. How is collaboration work with you?
Collaboration. How does it work with me? Some might say I don't collaborate well. I don't know. I would say in general, big picture, collaboration is the ability to foster collaboration in any organization or group. It's top down, leadership from the top down. There's got to be kind of a safe container where people don't feel like they're going to be judged or cut down, or that sharing and collaborating and them getting it wrong will, hurt their status, their bonus, their review. So a culture where failing is okay, fail forward, take some swings, that kind of thing. Collaboration, I think in general, like for me, collaboration is, you've got goals in mind. The goals are aligned and there's clear boundaries and expectations, and it's a two-way street. You're not in it for yourself. You're kind of being selfless to a certain extent for the collaboration. It's not about me and what I'm collaborating and what I'm bringing to the table, but it's about the end goal and the result. Like, what are we able to do together? And so here you go, Scott. A rising tide lifts all ships.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Never heard that before.
Really?
You never heard rising tides, right? Oh, you're messing with me.
Oh, yeah. I use it twice a week at least.
Scott uses it twice a phone call.
I was just at a place called Let It Fly Media, and we were talking about Erin Fulk and how awesome she is. But rising tides does raise all ships. Listen,
when you're spicy like me, Scott likes to remind you of it all of the time. All of the time. That was nice of you guys to talk about me. I love those guys over there.
Oh man, yeah, they were impressed with your stamina during the Phoenix Open and Super Bowl in Phoenix, and they were like, Erin was on it, and they were dragging.
Yeah, we were at the Phoenix Open together. That was a good time. I got these really cool Gooder sunglasses. Do you guys have those yet? They're like $25, and they're the only pair of sunglasses I've never lost this fast. So look them up. I know, I'm like, $25, I'll take all of them. Okay, guys, so we've got like 15 minutes left, and y'all are a bunch of talkers, so keep it around 4 to 5 minutes. We are almost at the end of quarter one. How did that happen? I have no idea, but let's talk about quarter of the way through the year. How are we doing on goals? What are we looking forward to the rest of 2023? We'll start with you, India.
So quarter two is going to get a lot crazier with the NFL draft. So I have some clients who are like, we need to build some stuff. We need to get some selfies taken. We need to have some entertainment because there's going to be hundreds and thousands of people here in April. So quarter two is actually ramping up for me. And I'm really excited to have just little fingerprints on the draft coming to Kansas City. So hopefully you'll see some hashtags and some pictures and some mentions of all of the selfie fun that I'll be working on.
Has anybody asked you to build anything that you're just still trying to figure out what you're going to do?
Not yet. No one has like stretched me super far. Everything else is pretty reasonable. So if you got something in mind, or if you have a client that needs to wow incoming guests or just friends and family during the NFL draft and beyond, call me. Follow Fresh Factory KC.
Challenger. I want her to have a good challenge because I know.
This guy's probably not listening, but sometimes a controversial someone is Danny O'Neill with the roastery. But Danny, regardless, he early on in his skill to build the roastery, he would just show up at events and offer out, free coffee. And he'd go to a lot of, so he owed a lot of his events to charity events where he'd go and show up because people that were investors and donors in the events. So what is your theory on that type of marketing where you just show up and no, they don't pay you, but you're sitting there soliciting the other CEOs?
So I do believe in the whole pop-up concept, right? That's how Fresh Factory started. What I don't want to do is get in trouble. Oh, police kicking me out, or you don't have permission to be here. But I do think if you have the courage to do so, 100%. And there's been many instances where I've done pro bono, free donation services that you got to look at the trade-off. Getting in front of hundreds and thousands of people, I'm going to get that money back one way or the other. So yes, Danny, do your thing. I just got to make sure I'm not going to be entered into the mass incarceration system by going into places that maybe I shouldn't be. So just got to think about.
No, always curious. Yeah.
Think about it. But yeah, popping up, being spontaneous is always a good thing.
All right, Naeem, what do you think?
I have two actually. And one of them is an exclusive, reveal. And so we're going to do that on Drinks with Leaders. I was going to wait for some time in the future, but we're going to drop that right here. That's spoiler alert, right? And so the first one is we are celebrating SWAGG Inc. Day, April 22nd at Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's the venue. SWAGG Inc. was awarded a resolution from the city signed by Mayor Q, recognizing April 22nd as SWAGG Inc. Day, a day of celebrating ownership for people impacted by mass incarceration. And we're really excited about that. To give you some context of why April 22nd is that date. So I was sentenced in the case that I referred to earlier for conspiracy to distribute cocaine. I was sentenced to that on April 21st, 2014. April 22nd, the next day, I woke up on my 35th birthday with a fresh 68-month prison sentence. And that's the sentence in which I wrote the business plan to SWAGG Inc. And so April 22nd, that's SWAGG Inc. Day forevermore in Kansas City, Missouri. And we're really, really excited about that. We have a fun date planned out, business pitch competitions, food, prizes, Don't Rodney King Me presentation or screening. We have performancers. Shout out to Brand Doshas, YGKC. It's going to be lit. We have an opportunity for people in the general community to connect with my network and the entrepreneurial ecosystem, the business community, and really one thing I want to do is drive opportunities for people to become bigs at big brothers and big sisters. And so then if defending the potential of young people is important to me, and it's an awesome opportunity. It's an awesome birthday gift to myself, and really excited. So that's number one.
I'm going to put sound effects.
Are we ready for number two?
I'm going to put sound effects on here. Sound effects. But
it's a first.
In music.
This is the resolution.
What? Hey,
resolution.
In the comments.
Really excited.
Say again.
This is the resolution.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Ryan, can you say that again?
Thank you. What were you saying, Scott?
Can you say that again? Just you're cutting out a little bit.
In terms of swagging day?
Well, what is the time frame for swagging day, and then also the resolution? Give us the significance of that.
2 minutes.
Absolutely. So April 21st, I was sentenced to 68-month prison sentence for a crime I didn't commit. April 22nd, the next day, I woke up on my 35th birthday with a fresh 5-year prison sentence for a crime I didn't commit. And that's the one in which I wrote the business plan to SWAGG Inc. And that's the day that was selected to celebrate ownership for people impacted by mass incarceration here in the city. We have a resolution signed by the mayor, Mayor Q. Shout out to Mayor Q. And so we're really excited. The venue is Big Brothers and Big Sisters, April 22nd, 23 from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
There you go.
Awesome. I was in the airport, the new airport the other day, and Mayor Q keeps coming over the loudspeaker. And I thought, I wonder if every city knows their mayor's voice this well or just us. Andrew, what about you in your year?
Okay, so big goals for this year. I feel like I'm so on track to where I need to be. The difference between this year and last year, though, is this is a year I'm going to be deploying a fair amount of my own capital. It's, there's been a nonprofit and for-profit entity I had early this year, in the works last year. This is the year for action, though. And so this is the proof of concept year for me, because you can talk a big game and all of this community impact real estate stuff, but we're in the show me state and people got to see it. I just can't stop with, what are you, euphemisms, metaphors, whatever. So, for me, it's 3 to 4 actual projects. My real estate agent business for other people, contracting for other people, like the bills are getting paid. That's kind of set up. The workflow's tight there. I know how much input to get the output I need to pay the bills. So it's the rest of my time, nonprofit, for-profit, big moonshot, 4 projects. I need 4 projects going. Completed maybe 1 or 2 of those by the end of the year, but definitely all 4. Money has changed hands, financing in place, title has been transferred. Real deal. That's my goal for business. Did you ask about other goals, or are we just talking?
Whatever you want to talk about. I don't care.
Okay.
That's great. You did a good job.
Andrew, don't give up on talking on metaphors. I sit in so many private equity and venture capital conversations, and it's all metaphors and buzzwords. Yeah. So it's I love it.
Like sparingly.
I can't help it. I'm a recovering salesperson. And
that's my only drug is sales.
I had
okay, I have an icebreaker. Let's play this icebreaker.
Okay.
You ready?
Let's do it.
Am I cutting out?
No, you're good.
We're waiting.
Okay. Let's play this icebreaker because we have 3 minutes left. And Scott loves a good icebreaker. I hate it. Okay, so what is your least favorite metaphor? I'll go first so you guys can all think.
That's a hard one.
Okay, and then we'll go backwards all the way back to Scott. Okay, so you're next, Andrew. My least favorite one that I will not even, I'll just leave you on red if you write me, is I know enough to be dangerous.
You use that a lot.
I bet you do. Okay, what's your least favorite?
Okay. I don't know if this counts as a metaphor, but definitely a saying, and it's triggering for me. You know, when people say, well, when you know, you know. When you know, right?
Ooh,
Oh, you
yeah,
got married
yeah.
after a week of dating. Well,
Plenty
when
fish
you
in
know,
the
you
sea.
know.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
Oh, yeah. Get back out there.
What about you, Naeem?
I think for me, it's too good to be true. I think people can use that dauntingly. You know, it's too good to be true to kind of like, you know, that can spur you from, you know, pursuing some opportunity.
I like that. I mean, I don't like that. I like that you don't like that. That's what I like. All right. India, what about you?
Honestly, it's probably when people say like and see, I'm gonna mess it up now. The pot calling the kettle black, because it's a tongue twister for me, so I always mess it up when I try to use it. Then it's like destroyed. Yeah, I just somewhat always want to mess it up somehow, so don't like it.
All right, we're all pausing here.
What about you, Scott?
This is a weird one, so I hope everyone gives me a little bit of grace in the fact that if they know me or give me context. But you know, when I was in college, I grew up in a family of all boys, brothers, and so we were very inappropriate, made a bunch of inappropriate jokes, and then as you grow up as a human being, the term "boys will be boys" in a work setting, I really don't like, and so
I don't like it in life.
I know I do. And so in recent months, there's been people in my industry that, not in my company, but you know, they've just had some things that have happened, and they always say, well, boys will be boys. I'm like, you know, it's just so like people always, the Saturday Night Live skit of like, well, it was the 90s. Well, it's like, it was like, this is like not even the 80s. This is like 30, 40 years from now. So it's just a weird thing. So I hate it when people say boys will be boys in the work environment, because it's just so disrespectful and not right.
I agree with you. I agree with everybody on here. So I will be saying your sayings next time I see you guys. Just kidding. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. If you guys would do us a favor, a lot of people in the comments are asking for like your fundraisers, your days, where you're going to be popping up at. So please go and put those in the comments on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with any of our guests, please connect with them on LinkedIn. They're all great follows. I watch all of them. They put out content. I love it. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Scott, thank you so much for being the best co-host ever. And thank you so much to Bacon Blue Valley and Burns and McDonnell for sponsoring the show and letting us say all of our least favorite sayings on all of the other cool stuff. And we're going to end our day with, I saw this really good comment right here. So we're going to end our day with, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Later.
What a comment.
Thank you all.